The goal of long-form television will always be the same: keep your eyeballs glued to the screen. There's not much better to increase engagement than a twist. A good bit of sudden movement gets people talking, theorising, and most importantly, tuning in next week. The problem is, twists have proven to be so effective that writers and showrunners have a propensity to throw one in at any given opportunity, whether or not it's any good. Spoiler alert is in full effect, because I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 TV show twists absolutely everyone hated. Number 10. Cordelia Possessed. Angel. The Cordelia chase of Angel was a far cry from the character we met on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Far from the vapid valley girl she was in Sunnydale, in LA she becomes a warrior for the forces of good and eventually a half-demon visionary of great importance. In Season 4 it all goes a bit wrong. After ascending to a higher plane of being, Cordelia returns to this mortal coil where she begins to act villainous, battling against her friends and relishing in the coming apocalypse. She then gives birth to Jasmine, the godlike bringer of chaos who serves as the season's main antagonist. It turns out Cordelia's uncharacteristic evil was due to demonic possession, and the gang quickly turn their attention towards defeating Jasmine. Meanwhile, Cordelia sort of fades into the background and is quietly but effectively killed off in Season 5. The twist itself led to one of the series' least exciting baddies after taking an age to get going and sidelined one of the most well-developed characters. The mystery of Cordelia's personality shift added nothing, and while her final demise was emotionally rich, the lead-up tainted it somewhat. Number 9. Glenn Lives. The Walking Dead. The Season 6 death of Glenn, one of the show's most prominent figures, was a genuinely shocking moment. Tumbling into a crowd of zombies, it seemed Glenn's number was truly up as we watched him disappear into the flesh-eating mass. Except, of course, he wasn't dead. A few episodes later, we were treated to the less than thrilling reveal that he had in fact secreted himself beneath a dumpster. In retrospect, that Glenn had survived was quite obvious. The final moments weren't seen on screen, usually an indicator that they're going to pull through. But fans were annoyed all the same because this was simply such a lame twist, a dire attempt to have their cake and eat it. They didn't even concoct a clever explanation as to how he escaped. He just hid right by the horde of ravenous zombies who gave up on hunting him down as quickly as the writers did, thinking of a clever way out of the scene. More bizarrely still, Glenn was killed for real a few episodes later at the start of Season 7. What could have been a shocking, brutal and effective moment was completely ruined by the mess they made the last time Glenn died, or didn't, whatever. Number 8. The Westville Universe. Saint Elsewhere. It gave a start to A-listers like Denzel Washington and Tim Robbins, but 80s hospital drama Saint Elsewhere is now remembered better for its virtuoso and bananas ending than anything else. Taking the "it was all a dream" scenario to its next step, the show concludes with the revelation that the previous 6 seasons were imagined by an autistic child. To say that this came out of left field would be an understatement. After a typically dramatic final episode full of big decisions and catharsis, the last thing viewers expected was for the rug to be thoroughly pulled out from under them. The final scene reveals that Dr. Westville, one of the main protagonists, is in fact a construction worker, and the hospital and all of its inhabitants have been conjured from the mind of son Tommy, using a hospital-themed snow globe, naturally, for inspiration. Why the creators chose this path is questionable, but if it was in an effort to get people talking, it certainly worked. Saint Elsewhere's finale is remembered as one of TV's most baffling. The show's various crossover episodes, in fact, have led to a hypothesis that a large number of TV shows take place within Tommy Westville's mind. It's not a conventional ending, but it's quite the legacy. Number 7. Dr. Alchemy's Secret Identity. The Flash. Dr. Julian Albert is introduced as a super smart historian and crime scene expert working with the heroes to study metahumans. He's an intense dude, but seems to be on the level. That is until the reveal that he is in fact the villainous Dr. Alchemy. As a plot point, that was perfectly fine. As a twist, though, it was beyond predictable. It's worth mentioning that the good/bad Doctor is portrayed by Tom Felton. Considering his work as a child actor, anyone could see this one coming. Poor old Felton is never going to be able to play a good guy again as long as he lives. There was a mind control angle thrown in here, with Julian being controlled by big baddie Savitar, so there's an argument to be made that Felton wasn't actually playing a villain here, but that's kind of lame. Felton's career could be a cautionary tale. You may think you want to appear in the biggest film franchise of all time, but good luck cracking on with your career once it's done. He's Team Evil for life now, which kind of makes twists like these irrelevant. Number 6. Who Shot Mr. Burns? The Simpsons. The freewheeling, ever-changing nature of The Simpsons means genuine twists are few and far between. A rare exception to this was the Season 6 and 7 two-parter Who Shot Mr. Burns, in which the titular tyrant was gunned down by a mystery assailant. The identity family of Mr. Burns' apparent killer was all anyone could talk about that summer, which of course made it a letdown when it turned out to be baby Simpson Maggie herself. The idea of getting annoyed at the resolution of a Simpsons twist seems quaint now, but in the mid-90s this was a big deal. Fox ran a competition for amateur sleuths with the chance to be animated on the show up for grabs. So obtuse was the solution that no one had the correct answer, and the winner, a chancer who didn't even watch The Simpsons, took a cash prize instead. Being The Simpsons, the wackiness of the twist was part of the point, as the show looked to spoof the wild storytelling of popular soaps, but it was a balancing act fraught with danger to have a swerve so daft you'd never see it coming, but to employ your viewers to play detective all the same. Number 5. The Mystery of the Island. Lost. With Lost at its mid-2000s peak, a true cultural sensation, J.J. Abrams assured fans that whatever the solution to Mystery Island, it was most assuredly not going to turn out to be purgatory. Well, guess what? It was. Well, sort of, anyway. While the Lost finale left a lot of questions unanswered, the key takeaway was that the island is some kind of quasi-religious afterlife type place. It's a little more complex than that. There are multiple timelines, with the whole 6th season being a self-contained alternate reality. For fans though, it was close enough to purgatory to draw ire. Lost promised so much with its explosive pilot episode and increasingly wild first few seasons, but as the writers dragged themselves deeper into the mire, the fear was always that they would not be able to get themselves out of it, and ultimately this was the case. Lost survived 6 seasons of ups and downs based on the promise that there will always be another crazy twist or cliffhanger around the next corner. It turns out the biggest twist of all is that you can't believe a word that J.J. Abrams says. Number 4. Lottery fake out. Roseanne. Roseanne was among the most frank and honest, as well as warm and funny depictions of a working class family on TV. It also shot itself in the foot a good 3 times as it came to a close. In season 9, the titular star won the lottery. No more scraping by for the Connor family, it was time to enjoy the good life. While fans may have been happy for the fortunes of the characters they'd grown to love, this wasn't the point of Roseanne. The Connors were a family we associated with because of their struggles. No one needed another show about life's lucky winners. So in the finale, at the time the last ever episode, Roseanne announced that the past year had been a fantasy. They hadn't won the lottery. What's more, her husband Dan was dead. This whiplash effect didn't sit well with fans who hadn't been digging the newfound wealth of the family but didn't need the blood of a main character as retribution. In 2018, the show came back for a final run and they walked back on that stuff too. By now, viewers were all thoroughly confused, so when the show shuffled off our screens for good, it was no great shame. Number 3. The Dream Season. Dallas. Season 8 of Dallas ended with prominent character Bobby Ewing dying after a hit and run. Star Patrick Duffy had decided the time had come for bigger and better things, and he was duly written off the show. 1 year later though, things had perhaps not gone as planned for Duffy, and he wanted back on the ranch. The only way the actor could return, his wife joked, was if they turned the entirety of the past season into one long dream sequence. Which is exactly what they did. The final shocking shot of the run was Bobby emerging from the shower as though nothing had happened. It turned out nothing had happened in Dallas's storyline, that is. Fans theorised like crazy. Was this a clone, a twin, a robot? Nope, Bobby was never run over, that didn't happen, and that's that. Dallas's era at the top of the ratings was over from this date, with Dynasty ruling the soap opera roost for the remainder of the former's run. The infamous Dream Season didn't kill off Dallas on its own, but the sheer laziness of its execution was certainly a nail in the coffin. Number 2. Secret Identities. Gossip Girl. The disappointing thing is, Gossip Girl's finale did so much right. The glossy teen drama gave the fans the conclusions they wanted, with weddings, deaths, and revelations galore. Unfortunately, all that good work was somewhat undone by the ridiculous conclusion to the show's longest running saga. Just who is Gossip Girl? It was Dan, it turns out. Dan, whose social standing and relationships had repeatedly been ruined by Gossip Girl. Dan, who had previously been seen in a room on his own reacting with shock to the column. What's more, he did all that to further his pursuit of Serena, who he similarly denigrated via his online persona. It made, to be generous, little sense. It recontextualised Dan as the ultimate cyber creep whose online long con not only went undetected but actually helped him get the girl. It seemed like a last-minute decision on the part of the writers rather than a 6-year-long payoff. It's the kind of twist that clouds any rewatches of the show. You can't help but pick out moments, and there are lots of them, which don't make sense in light of this. It was supposed to be a masterstroke, but instead it was basically basically nonsense. At number 1, Matricide, How I Met Your Mother. The show was built on a simple promise. Ted, the narrator, is telling his kids the story of how he met their mother, and if you watch for long enough, you'll find out too. This gave the once proud sitcom a license to outstay its welcome, but as the show reached its 9th and final season, the finish line was in sight. We wanted the facts, and we weren't leaving without them. That the mother turned up for the final season before quickly being killed off was annoying enough. The ever-delightful Kristen Milotti manages to make a character out of very little to work with, but it's hard to form too much of an emotional attachment to the mother after she's been built up for years and then quickly killed as they race towards the finish line. The next twist is even worse. After concluding his story, Ted's kids suggest that he remains in love with ex-Robin and the pair reconcile, caked in pretty bad aging makeup. It was supposed to be a joyous moment, but we've seen that this couple don't work time and again. Had they left it at Ted meeting the mother, it would have been fine, but they had to keep throwing out those curveballs and they didn't land. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Let us know which of these twists you hated the most, and of course any others that we didn't include. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Head over to whatculture.com for more content every day. I've been Si for What Culture, and have a good week.